So the Conservatives are basically making an election rigging claim in their most recent email. Yes, really. I want to give full credit to CBC's Kat Tunney for reporting this first, but I have also independently confirmed it. Because a while ago I signed up to get fundraising emails from all the major political parties, so the Conservatives sent me this one too. The subject of the email, which was sent from CPC HQ, reads, quote, "The Liberals want more seats." And the email immediately dives in with super misleading stuff. Quote, "Right now recounts are underway in key ridings across the country." That is true. Quote, "The Liberals are working to flip just enough seats to edge closer to a majority." Immediately no. The Liberals aren't working to flip anything. There are 3 seats in Canada where an automatic judicial recount has been triggered because the margin of victory was less than 0.1%. 2 of those seats are currently held by the Liberals with narrow victories over Conservatives, and 1 of them is currently held by the Bloc with a narrow victory over the Liberals. That means the only change outcomes that are possible here are the Conservatives gaining up to 2 seats and the Liberals gaining possibly 1. But overall, the Liberals stand to lose 2 seats and the Bloc stands to lose 1. Lastly, a Liberal candidate in Windsor did file for a judicial recount because they only missed the automatic threshold for that to have been triggered by 7 votes. But the Liberals can't work to flip anything here. Whether this recount even happens will be decided by a judge. And if that judge does agree to grant it, not only in this recount, but also the 3 others that I mentioned, those will all be overseen by a judge. So no one party, whether it be Liberals, Conservatives, or anyone else, can do anything to tip that in their favor or work to flip anything. The most that any one party can do here is ask a judge to consider recounting the results. But the Conservative email gets even worse after claiming Liberals are, quote, working to flip seats. It says they, quote, have to act fast or they risk losing gains they made on election night. Again, what? With the 3 recounts that are currently triggered, the Conservatives literally only stand to gain seats. Because the only recount race that the Conservatives are competitive in are in 2 seats that are currently held by Liberals. The Conservatives could lose a seat if a judge grants that 4th recount, and then the recount shows a different result. But again, that recount, overseen by a judge, is based on ballots that have already been cast. Neither the Conservatives nor the Liberals can do anything to sway the result of that recount. So I'm not sure what the Conservative Party thinks a donation could help them, quote, act fast on. And yeah, when you click that link, this is where it takes you. The email then goes on to say that, quote, millions of voters chose the Conservative Party, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that choice is respected. Again, what? Who is trying to disrespect that choice? And what exactly can you do here? The last line of the email, though, is where it gets really bad. They literally say, quote, "P.S. The Liberals are fighting hard to tip the scales. Help us hold the line in these critical recounts. Chip in now." Tip the scales? It literally sounds like they are saying the Liberals are trying to rig something here. In an email, the Conservative Party is sending directly to their supporters. This is so dangerous, so irresponsible, and not the way you act if you give a single shit about democracy. Especially when you couple it with that Leger poll I mentioned yesterday, which found that 25% of Conservative voters don't trust the result of the election. And that is before the Conservatives sent this email. Yikes. Anyways, the only other thing I want to mention is that next week we're gonna find out who is in the Liberal cabinet. But now is also when I tell you that I'm taking next week off. I am so tired, and I really need a little post-election rest before Parliament comes back. And I'll be offline until May 20th because May 19th is my birthday. But then I'll be back, rested, and ready to fill up your brain with all this juicy political knowledge. But before I take off for the week, I do want to leave you with some thoughts about what Mark Carney's cabinet might look like and what I'll be watching for when the announcement comes out in case it's helpful to you. First, and extremely importantly, I want to see if he brings back the Minister for Women and Gender Equality. I thought it was weird and kind of icky when he got rid of that portfolio and tucked it under another ministry when he announced his most recent cabinet. And yes, I know it was sort of framed as a a wartime cabinet, but he still assigned certain parliamentary roles even though the House of Commons wasn't sitting. And you know who's dealing with a war on their rights right now? Women and gender diverse people. I'm also curious about who gets to stay from the Trudeau era, who gets the boot, and where Chrystia Freeland ends up. We recently saw Trump specifically attack Freeland when he was sitting with Mark Carney in the Oval Office. Does Mark Carney keep her away from any portfolios that would see her deal closely with the White House? Or does he stand behind her in terms of, assuming he gives her a cabinet position, the kind of cabinet position that he gives her, rebuking Trump's criticism? Lastly, I'll be watching for new faces and regional representation. Will my old boss, Evan Solomon, get a cabinet post? What about Polytechnique survivor Natalie Provost? How much representation will come from places like Alberta and Saskatchewan, where between the two provinces, there are only 3 Liberal MPs to choose from? Anyways, if anything spicy happens with the cabinet announcements, I will be breaking it down when I'm back on May 20th. If I can be vulnerable with you guys for a second, I have a lot of guilt about taking this time off because, one, I don't want to miss anything, and I also want to make sure that those of you who have been kind enough to support me feel like you're still getting enough bang for your buck. But I also know that if I don't take a break from time to time, my brain will shrivel up into a little prune, and then what use is that to you or to me? So I just want to say that I do really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate your support, whether that's monetary or just you being here. I'm so glad that you're here. And I will see you when I'm a year older, wiser, and less burnt out. Until then, what do you think of all this?